Hi, this is Mr. Wartsky, and today we are going to start our very own brand new screencast on vertebrates, just introducing them so we can get into more detail later on. If you have any questions, please refer to your textbook, watch the video over again, or ask me in class tomorrow. And remember, you can always pause the video at any time so you can get the information down. So, chordates, that is the next type of phylum that we are going to talk about. And they're in the domain Eukarya kingdom, Animalia, and phylum Chordata. We are chordates. So the characteristics of all chordates, and at some time in their development, we have a notochord, which is a longitudinal, flexible rod between the gut and the nerve cord. Our notochord eventually ends up as our cartilage discs found between the vertebrae in our backbone. There is a dorsal hollow nerve cord, which becomes our central nervous system. It's just basically rolled up ectoderm. Pharyngeal gill slits on the side of the pharynx, your throat, and a muscular post-anal tail, which eventually disappears in us. Same thing with our pharyngeal gill slits. Right here is a picture of all the different types or all the different characteristics we just talked about. We have a notochord here. We have the ectodermal tissue that rolls up to becomes the dorsal hollow nerve cord. The pharyngeal gill slits are on the side there, and the post-anal tail right there. Beautiful. Those are 4 chordate characteristics. In the phylum Chordata, there are 3 subphylum. So the subphylum Urochordata, which are tunicates and sea squirts. They're tadpole-like larvae where they have the chordate characteristics. However, when they're adults, they attach to a substrate and begin to filter feed. They're actually the only animals that secrete cellulose. And there is a picture of a tunicate right there. It's kind of bizarre. The second subphylum is Cephalochordata, which are lancelets. There's a look like a lancelet right here. It looks like a fish, and it is a filter feeder. Not very long. And the last subphylum is Vertebrata, where you can find us. In subphylum Vertebrata, there are certain traits that we all have. We have a vertebral column, that is our backbone, which protects our spinal cord. The cranial brain development, a closed circulatory system, 2 pairs of limbs, 1 pair of image-forming eyes, a pair of kidneys, and separate genders. All vertebrates have those characteristics. Make sure you get them down. So inside the subphylum Vertebrata, there are 2 superclasses with 8 classes. One of the 8 classes are extinct. The superclasses are Agnatha, which are jawless fish, which have the class Cephalospidomorphi, which are lampreys, and class Mixini, which sounds like a pasta, is the hagfish. Superclass Gnathostomata, which are jawed fish or jawed animals. And the organisms with jaws are the class Placodermi. Those are the first fish with jaws. They are the extinct class. Class Chondrichthyes, which are your sharks, skates, and rays. We'll talk about them later. Class Osteichthyes, those are your bony fish. Class Amphibia, class Reptilia, class Aves, which are birds, and class Mammalia, where you find us. Get those down. So definitions, we first need to define some things so that we're all on the same page. Thermoregulation, ectoderms or poikilotherms. I spelled that wrong. There shouldn't be that L there. Poikilotherms. They are cold-blooded. They cannot maintain a body temperature. Endotherms or homeotherms are warm-blooded. It means we can maintain a body temperature. That's all it means. Fertilization, we have external or internal fertilization where the sperm meets the egg. Reproduction, oviparous. Those are egg layers. Write that down again, oviparous egg layers. Viviparous means you give birth to live young. And ovoviviparous means that you have internal soft-shelled eggs which hatch inside and gives the appearance of giving birth to live young. One more time. You have internal soft-shelled eggs which hatch and gives the appearance of having live young. So in viviparous, the mother feeds the baby through a placenta usually, or some type of a method of feeding the baby, like in marsupials, mom feeds baby through the nipple on the outside. And ovoviviparous, mom doesn't feed baby at all. There's a yolk, and that's what feeds the baby. In superclass Agnatha, there are 60 modern species. They're all ectotherms, they're all external fertilizers, and they are oviparous. There are two examples of superclass agnathans, lampreys and hagfish. Class Mixini, you find the hagfish. They lack sucking mouth parts. They bore into dead and dying animals, and they produce an amazing amount of slime. They are very prodigious in their slime production. Class Cephalospinodomorphi, they attach to the body, file away the skin with a raspy-like tongue, and will suck on body fluids. So one is more of a parasite, the other is more of a decomposer. That is a hagfish. Superclass Gnathostomata, a class Placodermi, extinct 150 million years ago, tomorrow. They are an armored group. They have a hinged jaw. World class Chondrichthyes are your sharks, skates, and rays. There are 750 species. When you take a look at the diagram, the diagram's right here. The caudal fin is the back, that's for propulsion. We have the dorsal fin on top here. That's how we always identify sharks, by their dorsal fin. That helps with balance. The pectoral and pelvic fins allow them to steer. Pectoral fins here, pelvic fins are here, right, around the pelvis. We have the lateral line, which is here, and that allows them to sense vibration. Their gill slits, that allows them to get their oxygen. So sharks will swim with their mouths open, the water will go over their gills and out right there. Okay, and that's their shark diagram. Draw that, please. Hit pause, draw it, and draw the things that we talked about, please. They have placoid scales and a cartilage skeleton. They have an alimentary canal. Now, in the alimentary canal, they have a spiral valve, which is basically a spiral intestine. So they really can't chew. They bite, rip, and swallow, and it goes through the digestive system in these big chunks. So the spiral valve slows down the movement of the food through the digestive system so they can pull the nutrients from what they just ate. They have a cloaca, which is one hole with three different functions. It's empty to the digestive system, the excretory system, and the reproductive system. All animals have that until you get to placental mammals. They have a stomach, no crop, and gizzard. So the stomach is basically the crop and gizzard put together. They can't suck, so they must continuously swim with their mouths open so that they can get the water over their gills. And they usually have 5 pairs of gill slits, 5 on each side. And there's your diagram again. Chondrichthyes have internal fertilization, believe it or not. They are oviparous or ovoviviparous. They have a 2-chambered heart with an atrium and ventricle. They have a great sense of smell. Underwater, they can smell up to 400 meters, and they can feel vibrations through their lateral line, and they are all ectotherms. Class Convictes, these are bony fish. Their skeleton is now made of bone and not cartilage. There's 36,000 species of bony fish. They're all ectotherms, external fertilizers, and they are all oviparous. They have a diagram. Let's take a look at the diagram. They have a caudal fin, has the same as for propulsion. Their dorsal fins also allow them for balance. Their pelvic fin and their pectoral fin right here and here, those allow for steering. They also for the anal fin. The lateral line is right here, senses vibration. And the operculum will protect the gills. The operculum protects gills. Now hit pause and draw that picture, and hopefully you can write down all the functions. If I spoke too fast, just go back and listen again. They have an air bladder, so they can actually take air, put it into that bladder, and they can change the depth at which they float. They can suck water over their gills. So now Osteichthyes can suck, which is great. So if you say Osteichthyes suck, you're absolutely right. Their operculum is a bony cover that protects the gills. They have a two-chambered heart, an atrium and a ventricle, an alimentary canal with a cloaca, and they also have a stomach, just like sharks. They have flattened scales, and those scales produce mucus. That's why fish are slimy. They can hear, they can smell, and they can taste, but their tongue cannot move. So they really can't talk. Well, if they can talk, then you can't understand them. Class Amphibia. There are 4,800 amphibians in 3 orders. Now, the orders are Urodela, which are your salamanders, the Anura, which are your frogs and toads, and Apodia, which are your Sicilians. Never seen a Sicilian. That's not people from Sicily, that's Sicilians. They look like a snake. They are ectotherms, external fertilizers, and they are oviparous. They have 2 lives. That's what amphibian means. They have an aquatic larval stage, that's your tadpoles, and a terrestrial adult stage. But they have to go back to the water to reproduce. And that's huge. They can't get over that evolutionary hump. They have underdeveloped lungs. Their lungs are not able to keep them alive and get enough oxygen, so they actually take most of their oxygen through their skin. The oxygen will diffuse through their moist skin into their blood. That's what vascularized skin means. A lot of blood vessels. So if you have a dry frog, you have a dead frog because it cannot breathe. They have a 3-chambered heart, 2 atria and a ventricle, an alimentary canal with a cloaca with a stomach. There's your frog. There's a Sicilian right down there. I've never seen one of those things. Anura, Apodia, and Sicilian. Their class Reptilia, 7,000 species of reptiles. They are ectothermic, internal fertilizers. And this is huge, oviparous and ovoviviparous. Now there are 4 orders. Testoderia, my gosh, turtles, crocodilia, crocodiles and alligators, squamata, lizards and snakes, and sphenoditia. I've never seen a turritella. I've never. Now, these are the first organisms to live their whole life on land. The first one, they live their whole life on land, and that is huge evolutionarily, but they have to have certain adaptations for this to happen. Those are your reptiles. Lungs, very efficient. Their kidneys, they have to get all the water from their waste because no, they're not in water anymore, so they need to conserve their water. And they also produce uric acid, which means that they suck all the water from their urine, and that's what they get rid of. Their skeleton has to be able to handle gravity. Their skin needs to be impervious to water. It has to be very, very dry. Some people say reptiles are slimy. They're lying because they have to be dry. Internal fertilization so that the sperm can be deposited in the cloaca because sperm can't walk. And the most importantly, the amniote egg. That's where you have the outer shell. The chorion is the inner shell, and they have a flexible inner shell. Like, how you crack a hard-boiled egg and you get that film sometime, that layer, that membrane? That's the inner shell. Yolk, which feeds the baby. The albumin, which is protein, which also feeds the baby. The yolk is the fat that feeds baby, provides a lot of energy. The allantosis collects the waste, and of course you have the embryo. And here we go. Here's a picture. Yolk here feeds baby. Allantosis will actually collect the waste. Baby's here. The hard outer shell's here. And then you have the chorion, which is the thin inner shell here. And the rest is albumin, which is just protein. So again, draw that. This is huge. It's evolutionary, allows these organisms to live on land, the amniote egg. And we're going to stop there, and we're going to pick it up from here in the next screencast. Have a good night.